Now let's talk about some of the special operators we have, like null, this, and instance of. So why we actually use null? So one thing you have to understand is this null is case sensitive. It is not like this capital N. The null should be like this. Okay, and by default, if you remember, if you look at earlier discussion, we said instance variables are by default initialized to 0. If it is string, by default to string. Similarly, when you use reference variable, the default value assumed for any reference variable is null. This is the default value for the reference variable. And one more thing to remember is any access to a null reference gives you a null pointer exception, because you're accessing a reference variable that points to null. That means it must not point to anything. So that's not possible. Another thing is you cannot pass a null as a parameter when you call any methods. That is also not possible. So these are the things you should remember about null. Now coming to this. This actually represents the class which it is getting called. Like let's say, for example, you have created an object and you want to refer a member of the object, whether the member could be function, whether the member could be variable, instance variable. You can refer both of them using this. This means simply the current object. So it can help you to refer the current instance variable or the current instance method. All that is possible. And even if you want to refer its current constructor, it is still can be possible with this. And you can always refer using this. You can always pass as an argument by your calling constructors also. That is all possible. Now what does instance of do? So instance of help you to check. Let's say you have a variable called a and you want to check, is it a part of a data type called integer or is it a part of data type called float? It helps you to check whether that's been the case. So it always gives you result in the form of true or false, but all it does is it checks whether a particular variable or operand you're giving, that could be constant or variable, is it part of the data type you're checking. That's what it verifies. Now here is an example. So you can see here s equal to new simple gm. This is what we are making. We are creating an object and we are saying this is instance of it. So how to check whether this guy, as soon as you create an object, what will happen? This guy is an instance of this. Now that is what I'm checking. Is s instance of simple pgm? So if it is, which in this case is yes, then it will say true. That is what it returns. Let's say if yes is not part of simple pgm, or you have put some other object. Let's say if the object is some xyz, which is not part of, which you haven't created any object like this, then in that case it will yield as false. That is how this particular thing works. So instance of is to verify whether a particular object you have created, is it part of a particular class or not, or is it part of a particular class like what you have created here. That's what it refers. And remember that most of the things which you create object, they are all will be child of your object class at a high level.